Hello, my loves. Okay, so first and foremost, buckle up because this is going to be a long video. I'm already calling it because there's so much I want to talk about. But before I do that, look, I brought a blanket so I don't accidentally flash you. Look at this cute chair I got. Another Facebook Marketplace find. It's going to be my new desk chair. My desk is over here, but for live videos, we're going to go against this wall because none of y'all want to see my desk. Okay, let me get my blanket, cover up my cooch so I don't flash you guys like I did last time. If you guys watched my live video last week, I was telling you guys about this couple that I was on my way to help, and I accidentally was showing the goodies on the video, so I had to scrap that video, which made me kind of sad because I felt like there was so much good information inside of that video that I wanted to share with you guys. So today I wanted to give you guys a recap on what is going on with that family, and I guess I'll reshare. So there's a couple in my life that I was close to, that I am close to. I actually lived with them for a little while, worked really close with the wife. I don't want to give away too much information because obviously this is their life and this is their privacy. But just to explain that I know this couple, right? I'm familiar with them and their kids. And I got this text message from the mom, and she was like, I desperately need your help. Like, all shit hit the fan last night with our daughter, and we could really use your expertise. So I've done up-level work with them before. They're familiar with what I do. And I still feel like there's some ambiguity around what it is that I do and how I help people. So I have this kind of, it's a gift. I see it as a gift where not only can I see everybody's perspective, like I've always had that ability to understand where people are coming from and without judgment to kind of just see why they feel the way that they feel and to understand their stance. But I'm also very problem oriented, so I'm really good at coming up with solutions and seeing where the miscommunication lies. And so she reached out to me and said, we need some help with our daughter. Things aren't going so great. So I had a chance to first talk with the wife. So this was the wife's perspective of what was going on. She said that the daughter had been hanging out with someone, and they kind of were getting the impression, she just texted me, how freaking amazing is that? Okay, so they were kind of getting the impression that the daughter had like a romantic thing going on with this other person, but they didn't know for sure. And so they sat their daughter down and said, hey, if you're going to be dating this person, we want to know. Now, the person was the same sex as her, and so they did a really good job letting her know, like, if you are into girls, we are not going to judge you for that. We love you no matter what. Like, it's okay. Just tell us. Just be honest with us. And, it's most important that you're just being honest with us because we don't want to be lied to. So the daughter says, no, I feel like I'm out of breath. So the daughter says, no, nothing is going on, right? So I said, okay, well, just so you know, we would accept you no matter what. So about a week later, the daughter comes to them, sits them down and says, okay, you were right. I do have feelings for her, and I kind of want to explore this, and I wanted to be honest with you guys. Now, when she says that, Dad freaks out, okay? So Dad feels lied to. He feels manipulated. He does not have a problem with the fact that she is interested in a female. That's not what this is about for him. This is about the fact that she was trying to hide it or keep it from him. And so he immediately feels like he needs to assert his dominance and let her know that it was not okay that she lied. And so he starts abrasively yelling, screaming, takes her phone away. Okay, he's very upset. Now, when he does this, she internalizes this. Okay, now, when people come and they share stuff with us, they're in a very vulnerable state, right? When they're being honest with somebody. And the only reason why people lie is because they're afraid of what is going to happen inside of speaking their truth. That's the only reason why people lie. Think about any time that you've lied to somebody, you're afraid of what the reaction is going to be, or you're afraid of some type of consequences coming your way by speaking your truth. And that's the position that the daughter was in. And so as she decides that she's going to open up and be vulnerable, when she gets the bad consequence coming back, it gives her brain evidence that, see, this is exactly why I can't open up with my parents and share with them what's going on, because they're going to attack me, or they're going to take my phone away from me, or they're going to revoke privileges from me, right? And so the girl obviously reacts. She's very upset that her father responded that way. They start yelling at each other, they're screaming at each other, they're hurling insults, and and what's really going on here is there's this power control, right? There's this fight for dominance and for power. So the daughter's got all the control by keeping it hidden, and then she releases that control by telling her parents what's going on. Dad feels like he was lacking control because he didn't know, so he immediately tries to steal the control back. I'm going to take your phone. You're not allowed to talk to that girl anymore. You need to stay home, yada, yada, yada. So then what does the girl do? She decides she's going to try and take the power back. You have no right to tell me that I can't talk to her. If that's the way it's going to be, I'm leaving this house. I'm not going to live here anymore. If it's your rules, then I'll just leave. And she's trying to assert dominance. And then the dad comes back. You're not leaving this fucking house. You know the thing. And so they're fighting for control, right? Now, the wife is like, holy crap. I don't necessarily agree with my husband and how he's handling this, but I don't necessarily agree with my daughter and how she's handling this. So she kind of does the hands-off approach, and she's just watching this happen in front of her. Things start to escalate. Ironically, at the same time, daughter's interest shows up at the house, right? Kind of knocking on her window, old school, I'm going to throw the rocks at the window, get your attention, kind of talk to you through the window, type of thing. Horrible timing, right? So dad finds out that the girl is there, completely blows up, they have the girl leave. The daughter's like, I want to leave. Parents are like, no, you're not going anywhere. You're underage. You need to stay here. And, it all kind of ends in this mess, right? The daughter says a few hurtful things to the mom. The mom's obviously really upset that she could say those hurtful things. She's like me. She can see all perspectives, so she understands why the daughter is upset. So the first thing that I want to touch on is that so often when we are in conflict like this, we lose sight of what it is that we are trying to create. Like, we're not thinking about what is it that I want in this relationship. We're not thinking about what is it that I want my end goal to be. We often think from a space of ego. When somebody is attacking us, we go into fight or flight mode. So either I'm going to run from this, I'm going to fight, or I'm going to freeze. Now, mom froze, right? That's what she did. She was frozen. I don't know what to do, so I'm just not going to do anything, right? And the daughter attempts to fight and then decides she's going to flee, but she can't flee, so she keeps fighting. And dad is in fight mode. Now, when this is activated inside of us, we are not thinking about our future, our end goal, what it is that we want to accomplish by having this conversation. We are thinking about the fight. And the fight sounds like who's right or who's wrong. And so we start to argue about, well, I'm right. My perspective is right. No, I'm right. My perspective is right. And nobody actually gets hurt in this conversation. And so when I had a chance to actually sit down with the dad and ask him what what he wanted, he wants him and his daughter to get along. Like he wants her to be honest with him. Now, here's the thing is, if he's acting from a space of wanting his daughter to open up to him and to be honest, what type of environment do people feel the most likely to share? You usually are most willing to share and be vulnerable when you feel safe. When you feel like there's not going to be consequences to you speaking your truth, when you feel comforted, when you feel empowered to use your voice and be yourself. And the environment that was created in this experience was not one that said, I want you to share with me. It was not one that was in alignment with, I want to grow closer to you and understand where you're coming from. It was instead an environment that says, I'm the father, what I say goes, sit your ass down, right? Now, just to clarify, I do believe that if it's your house, right, that you have some authority about what is going on inside of your house. I get all of that. But I'm not looking at this from the position of right now. I'm looking at this long term. And the reason why I'm looking at this long term is because I can't tell you how many friends I have that said, my child left my house and our relationship went to shit. I had that experience. I left my father's house and that was that. I hardly talked to him because I didn't feel safe talking to him. I don't feel comfortable sharing my truth, right? It was always his way or the highway. And so I wanted to share another experience with you. I'm going to go off topic really quick because some of you guys aren't parents, or some of you guys, you're not in this position. I'm not in this position with my child. So I want to kind of relate this to another experience that I had. I was dating this guy, and this guy had shared with me, actually multiple partners have shared this with me, that they were dishonest with their previous partners because they were scared that if they told their previous partners the truth, they were going to be yelled at, they were going to be ridiculed for having that opinion, right? They were going to be in trouble if they told the truth. And so I was dating this guy, and it was towards the beginning of our relationship, and I found out that he was seeing somebody else, right? And me being who I am and seeing all the sides and the perspectives, even if I don't agree with them, I can understand them. I was like, well, I've, in certain situations, been newly dating somebody and still kind of had my thing going on the other side because I wasn't quite sure where I wanted to go. That's a whole nother video for a whole nother topic. But in that moment when I found out that this guy was talking to other women, I had told him, if you would just be honest with me and tell me what the hell is going on, then we could move forward. And he couldn't accept that. He couldn't accept that because in his past, he had so much evidence that if he told the truth, he was going to get in trouble. And it started from his childhood. When his parents used to say, if you just tell us the truth, you won't get in trouble. Okay, well, I did take that. Snap! You shouldn't have fucking did that, right? And it's like, well, you told me to tell the truth, and I told the truth. You said I wasn't going to get in trouble. I said the truth, and what happened? I got in trouble. I got smacked, right? And so years and years and years of doing this, and then he ends up getting into a relationship, and his relationship with his ex-wife was much the same way. I'm afraid to tell the truth because she's going to get mad at me. And she would say, if you would just tell me the truth, I won't get mad at you. And he would say, okay, well, here's my truth. And I fucking hate you. You're a horrible husband. You're a piece of shit. You're blah, 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 blah. Which then makes the person go, there's no way I'm telling you the truth. Right? And so as I was telling this partner, I said, if you just tell me the truth, right? And he goes, you don't understand. Everybody has told me that, and nobody has ever given me space to tell the truth. I said, well, I'm different. I promise you. Just tell me what your truth is. And I could remember he says, okay, I'm going to tell you everything. I'm going to tell you everything. I'm going to tell you about all the goals. I'm going to tell you everything, right? And so he's like, I'm just going to trust this process. And he sits down and he tells me, let me tell you what, if I had not been doing my personal development, if I had not been working on understanding the difference between ego and soul, if I had not been doing that work, I would have fucking shanked him in that moment, right? Because I understand what it feels like to be lied to. I understand what it feels like to feel like somebody betrayed your trust. Like, I understand that. But more than anything, I understand that, no, I want to play, okay. But I understand more than anything that relationships are going to be stronger if they're built on intimacy and trust. And in order for us to build intimacy and trust, we have to be authentically ourselves with one another. Nobody is perfect. I've never met anybody that was perfect. And if you've met somebody that's perfect, then, I'd love to meet them because I've never, ever, ever met somebody that didn't have some type of shit hidden in their closet that they were keeping secret because they were afraid. They were afraid of what the consequences were going to be if they started to speak their truth. And so what I did was, as he was telling me this truth, I leaned on all the things that I teach inside of Up Level. How can I hold this sadness and this anger and accept the fact that I have this sadness and this anger inside of me, while also being able to reach for joy, to reach for understanding, to reach for compassion, to reach for empathy. Because when you can have both, that's where magic happens. I heard this analogy yesterday that talked about a battery has positive and negative, and that's what creates the power, the spark inside of it. And I've seen inside of my own relationships, when I can hold the ugly and the beautiful inside of my friendships, inside of my romantic relationship, inside of my relationship with my child, when I can hold space for both and not judge either side, that is when sparks and magic happen. Because as he explained to me after that conversation, he said, I have never, ever had somebody do what you just did. I've never had somebody listen just for the sake of trying to understand what it is that I'm experiencing, instead of sitting in their own ego self and thinking about, well, how is this impacting me? And as I'm sitting here talking to the husband and the wife and the child, I'm realizing that everybody in this situation is thinking about themselves. How is this making me feel? Instead of thinking about the relationship, the connection, the family dynamic. So I had a chance to actually go sit with the husband and the wife, and it was such a beautiful moment because when I got there and I was talking to the husband, at first he was, and I knew, I know him, so I knew he was going to be like, okay, I know you're her friend and you're just going to take her side of everything, right? And I'm like, well, you don't know me very much, but let's do this. And he starts to talk to me about how he's feeling, right? Now, he works a lot of hours. He was explaining to me that he works between 16 and 18 hours a day to provide his family with the things that they have. And they have a lot, right? They have big, beautiful cars. And I swear that TV that was inside their house was bigger than me. Like it was the whole freaking wall, right? And, big, beautiful house, and the vehicles are so nice. And, they got all this stuff. And he works really, really hard to provide for his family. And so he was coming from a place of, I work my ass off to provide for my family. And then I come home and I'm disrespected. I'm lied to. I'm yelled at, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm listening to him, and I'm like, man, well, no wonder why your kids lash out at you, though, because they're doing what you do. You don't create a safe space for them, right? You lash out at them or you get angry with them. You release all that anger on them. Well, guess what? They're going to mimic your behavior. They're going to lash out and they're going to be angry at you. How can you expect them to sit back and understand what it is that you are saying and how you are feeling when you don't give them an example of what it looks like to sit back and listen and try and seek to understand? There was so many times where, as he was explaining the situation to me, he saw his daughter in this light where he wanted her to be an adult. He wanted her to be mature. He wanted her to handle herself like an adult would. And yet there was this flip side to, he wasn't giving her what is the word that I'm thinking of? He wasn't giving her access to what adults have access to, meaning like she's not allowed to make her own decisions, right? She's not allowed to have autonomy over her own body or her own time or what she does or who she dates. But at the same time, he's expecting her to show up as an adult. And also, he's 40-something years old and can't control his emotions. He can't control his anger. He lashes out when he feels those low vibrational emotions, and yet he's expecting a 15-year-old to hold her emotions and to hold her tongue when she's feeling those things. We can't expect our children to be doing something that we haven't yet grasped. And we cannot expect our children to mimic behaviors that we are not demonstrating or being examples of. Right? And so as we're talking more and more, and I'm getting a better sense of this, I'm really understanding that the work that he's asking for is, can you just work with my daughter and just make her understand? Can you just make her a better daughter? Like, she needs to understand that she needs to listen to me, and she needs to this, and she needs to that, and she needs to do the other thing. And the whole time I'm sitting there going, man, he just needs to do his own inner work. There's so much inner work that he needs to do so that he can show up powerfully for his daughter as the leader of the household. He needs to be able to be the example. And so often we are not showing up as the example for our children, but we're expecting our children to show up the way that we demand that they show up. It doesn't work that way. People will feed off of the energy that you give them. I love teaching this inside of Up Level. There's this week where we teach feelings versus details. A lot of times we get caught up in the details of a situation instead of focusing on the feelings of the situation. And in most conflicts, both parties feel the same way. They just have different perspectives. And when they're arguing the details, they will never be on the same page because they both see the details differently. But when they start to lean in and focus on the feelings, they of all people could understand how the other person is feeling because they are feeling the exact same way. So an example that I gave earlier on one of my other videos is, I was talking about, do you guys remember when the giving children vaccines was like a huge thing and everybody was talking about it and everybody was fighting about it and unfriending people on their Facebook because one mother wanted to vaccinate her child and the other one was saying, no, that's wrong, and they didn't want to vaccinate their child. And I use this as an example with the details versus feelings because the details are different. This mother thinks this way and this mother thinks this way, but the feelings are the same. Both moms are afraid of hurting their child. Both moms want to protect their child. Both moms are unsure of all the bullshit that they're hearing, and they want to protect their child and make sure that their child is healthy. So this parent will say, I feel that if I give the vaccine to my child will be safe. And this person says, I feel that vaccines can cause issues, and so if I don't give it to my child will be safe. Both moms want the same thing, but because they see it in different perspectives and different details, they argue and fight with each other instead of empathizing and compassion or showing compassion to one another, because they're both going through this very difficult, real thing. And in this family, I saw that. I saw dad was angry and daughter was angry. Dad felt lied to, and so did the daughter. You told me you would be understanding if I told you the truth. You told me you wouldn't judge me if I told you the truth, and I told you the truth and you lied to me. Well, you told me that you would be honest with me, and then you promised me that this was not what was really going on. And then you tell me that you did do this thing, and so you lied to me. And instead of both of them taking a step back and saying, why did I lie to this person? It wasn't necessarily that I meant to lie. I am incapable of being able to control my ego and my emotions and my low vibration long enough to have an effective conversation with you on both sides. So as me and the father are talking more and more and more, he starts to tell me, this wasn't this way when I was a kid. You guys ever hear that? Oh, Lordy. It wasn't this way when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I wouldn't dare question my father. I wouldn't dare raise my voice to my father. I wouldn't dare yell at my father. If I ever did it, I'd get fucking smacked across the face. I knew my place. I knew better. I've always respected my father. He's a good man, and he bought everything and provided all of the things, and I'm going to do this exact same thing for my kid. And I'd ask him, I said, you don't have to answer me. Internally think about this. What is your relationship with your father like today? Do you feel safe enough to open up to him? Is he who you call when you need advice? Can you be yourself? Can you be vulnerable? How often do you see your father? How often do you call your father? And his whole face just went down, because I know he does not have a good relationship with his dad. And I asked him, I said, if your father raised you this way and it led to this outcome where you don't have a good relationship with him, you might respect him as a man, but you don't have a good relationship with him, you don't ever talk to him, you don't include him in your life, you don't ask him for advice, you don't have an intimate relationship with him. Why would you raise your children in the same way if that is not in alignment with what you want? You see, if your relationship with your father is not that great, you have to be doing something different than what he did raising you in order to have a good relationship with your children. I can't tell you how many clients I work with, they go, well, this happened to me. I had one client, she was beat when she was younger. And she was hitting her kid. And we were working on it, one-on-one together. And I was like, why? Why would you hit this child? Well, I was hit. I turned out okay. Did you? Did you? Because you're here right now in front of me, paying me to help you to see things differently because something's not okay. It is so important that I call it getting in your seat. You're getting your soul back in the driver's seat. Stop letting your trauma and your fear and your upbringing control who you are today. That is not who you are. And that is not in alignment with where you want to go. You have to be able to get back in your seat and say, what is it that I want for my future? And how do I need to show up today to actually get what I want? I looked around the whole house. I'm looking at all this beautiful stuff. And I said, have you talked to your kids about how much you work? Yes. And they say they wish I was around more. Do they want this TV? They want this car? They want this house? Or they would rather hang out with you? Would they be willing to have a smaller TV if it meant dad was at home more? Yes. Would they be willing to have a smaller truck if it meant that dad was home more? Yes. Would they be willing to live in a smaller house if it meant that dad was home more? Yes, the kids have told both of the parents, we want dad to be home more. Listen, you may want stuff. And there's nothing wrong with you wanting stuff. But your children, your wife, your friends, they may be telling you they want something different. And if your goal is to provide for them, you need to get out of your head on making the decision on what provision looks like. Some people, provision, I'm that way. Provision doesn't mean you give me stuff. I've never looked at a partner for the money and said, ooh, I want that one because he can buy me this and this and this and this and this. You know what I want? I want emotional security. I want mental stability. I want somebody that can hold me when I'm feeling sad. That's what I want. I want someone that I can be myself with. I want someone that I could be 100% raw and honest with and know that it's a safe enough space to talk about all of me. Not just the light and the beautiful stuff, but the dark stuff. I want a partner where I can share about the shitty things that I've done in my life and they don't look at me any differently. In fact, when they look at me, they go, wow, you have all that dark stuff in your past and you still became the person. You're still showing up in the way that you're showing up, and see me in admiration and see how strong I am and how much I've endured, and be proud of me. Be proud that the woman is that way. Instead of me having to hide those parts of me. That is a lack of intimacy. That's not what I want. It is so important that we learn how to use our emotions the way that they were meant to be used. So that we do not react when we sense our emotions, but instead that we can sit back and logically think through what is happening in that moment, and to be able to move forward in a way that's in alignment with what we want. Inside of Up Level, I teach that emotions, all emotions, all they are doing is they are telling you whether you are in alignment with what you want or not. That's all they're doing. So when you feel a bad emotion, it means that something about this situation is not in alignment with who you were created to be. And then I teach, how do we move up the emotional guidance scale? You can't go from feeling angry to feeling joy like this. You can't do that. That's like trying to jump on a train that's going 100 miles an hour. Bye. Like, you have to work your way up. But if you don't know that working your way up is how you get out of that low vibrational state and open yourself up to high vibrational states, high vibrational relationships, high levels of intimacy with your loved ones. If you don't realize that, you're going to stay in those low vibrations, fighting with each other, push and pull on those emotions. Until somebody leaves. I asked them, I said, if in a couple years your daughter leaves because she's angry at you. She tried to leave the other day when they got into the fight. She wanted to run away. If your daughter leaves, if your son were to leave, if your wife got tired of your anger, she had mentioned multiple times during that session, his anger. They've actually divorced before and got remarried. If she ends up leaving, what is all this for? What is this house for? What is this TV for? What are these trucks for? If you have nothing left inside of your relationships. You can't avoid building intimacy with people, but expect them to treat you as though you have an intimate connection. Nobody can force anybody to do anything. It is all still a choice. Even a gun to my head, I can still choose not to do what you say. And the more that you try and steal and take away choice and consent from the people that you love, from your children, the more unsafe they will feel and the more likely they will to leave you. It is so important that we start thinking about this from the perspective of, how do I feel when I'm yelled at? How do I feel when I'm speaking my truth and it's scary? How do I feel when I open up to somebody and they lash out at me? How do I feel when things get taken away from me? How do I feel when I feel misunderstood? How do I feel when I feel trapped? and responding to your loved ones the way that you wished people would have responded to you when you were feeling those ways. I hope that you guys got something out of this video. I love you guys. I'm happy to say that husband has now asked his wife twice when I will be back to talk to them, because he really wants to learn more. And I give so much kudos to this family. I've known them for a long time. And like most people, they have a really long way to go. But they are open to it. They are open to receiving a different perspective from listening to what it is that I have to share. They're open to doing the work. And I think that that is so beautiful, because that is what we need. We don't need perfect parents. We don't need perfect children. We need relatable parents. We need parents that are strong enough to get out of their ego and say, you know what, I don't know everything, but I love you, and I'm willing to do the work to figure out how it is that I can demonstrate and show you that love, so that we can build the type of intimate connection that will last through all the shit we're going to go through as family members. I love you guys. Have a great night.